Welcome to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi. Now, a question I get asked a lot is about Rancor arms and how to reattach them. I recently did a video showing you how to reattach a Wamper's arms, and it's going to be using the same sort of technique to reattach this guy's arms. If we look inside the Rancor, I'm just going to rearrange my lamp so you can actually see what's going on in here. It's actually not the easiest thing to fix because there's a bungee cord, like a O-ring, that is attached between two posts on either side of the armhole, and you can't actually get to this. So what's happened on the arm that's fallen off is that O-ring has snapped and you're left with an arm which has a little hoop on it. This is a sort of movable hoop that should be attached over the O-ring, but that has snapped. So the way we're going to have to go about this is actually to remove the arm that's still attached. Unfortunately, I can't work out a good way of reattaching just one arm. Because this arm is in place and it's fairly stiffly held in place, you can't actually get in enough to fix the broken arm onto anything. So what I'm going to have to do is cut the O-ring here and detach both arms, and then we can reattach the arms together using a similar method that I did for the Wamper. So we're going to use a couple of O-rings and then some cable ties to pull it all together, but that means removing this arm first. So unfortunately, let's go ahead and cut the O-ring on this and we'll get the other arm off. So let's go ahead and remove this arm. I've just got a pair of cutters here and I'm going to carefully cut the O-ring. Feels a bit wrong doing this, but unfortunately this is the only way I can work out how to fix this. So let's cut that string, there we go, and now we can remove that arm, and I can also pull out the remains of the plastic. As you can see, it is just a large O-ring. So what you're going to need to fix this Rancor's arms is a couple of small cable ties, as we have here, and I've got a couple of quite small O-rings. Now these are, let me just put them on this so I can measure them, they're less than 1 centimetre across, so these are pretty small. You just need something that's fairly small just to go between the two arms, and it's got a bit of a spring to it because you actually need quite a lot of tension to hold these arms in place. So let's get the first arm ready. So what you need to do, grab one of the cable ties and slot it through the arm like so, and attach to it the two O-rings like so, and then we can just do this first cable tie up just a little bit. You don't want to do it up too much just for the moment because the next stage requires a lot of give. So for the next stage we then pass through the second cable tie through the two O-rings, so we end up with a situation like that. You've got cable tie on one side, two O-rings, cable tie on the other side, and we can now pass that through the Rancor. So here we have the Rancor, and here we have the cable tie, a couple of O-rings and another cable tie. So we've got to pass this through the Rancor like so. You can then grab that on the other side, and we can now thread this cable tie through the other side's arm, and again just loosely we want to tighten this up for the moment, just so that everything is held in place and we can set up for the next bit of the job. So there we go, both arms very loosely attached. So the next part of the job is now tightening everything up. As you can see here, this is the back of the Rancor, and I have the two ends of the cable ties sticking out each shoulder. What you want to do now is start pulling on those cable ties and tightening up them as tight as you possibly can. I'm just going to do one side, and then I'm going to go do the other side a bit, and keep pulling until you've got them as tight as can be. So let's get that one, that's pretty tight. Now I can go back to this side, and this one's still got some give on it. You may need to use some tweezers or something to enable you to do this. So I've got some tweezers here, so I can just put in and keep pulling the cable tie taut. It is a little bit fiddly and everything is now under tension, but it is possible. So now you can see I've tightened those up, and I've got the ends of the two cable ties sticking out. Now you can either trim these off, or you can just push them inside as they are. In this instance, I'm going to push them inside as they are in case I want to do any further modifications. So all you've got to do is carefully tuck them in like so, and they should just pop in. Again, you can use a pair of tweezers if it's a bit awkward. But there you go, that's one gone in. Let's do the other one on this side. A little bit more fiddly. pair of tweezers just to push that inside like so. And there we have it. The arms are now reattached. Let me rearrange the camera and I'll show you this in full working order. So here we have the finished Rancor. As you can see, I can pose his arms quite nicely and they stay in place. It's not quite as tight as the original Rancor's elastic in the arms, but because of the way the Rancor has been built, it makes it incredibly hard to do anything much better than this. It's just an awkward body design, the fact that you can't really get in there to do much work to it. In an ideal world, this guy would have been screwed together so you could unscrew him and get in and replace the bands properly. But I'm pretty happy with the results. He certainly works nicely and you can certainly pose him, which previously with one arm off, he was pretty useless. So it's not the best fix in the world, but it is a fix that does do the job, and it means that this guy can go back on display and can take pride of place in someone else's collection. So this is probably the best fix that can be done with the limitations of the design of this figure. And I'm guessing that this technique can be used on some of the larger 12-inch Star Wars figures, and it's pretty much the same fix that I used on the Wampa, just with a much smaller and a much tighter little O-ring rather than some elastic. So hope that's been of interest to all the people who keep asking me how do you fix the arms on a Rancor, and thanks for watching. And welcome back. As you can see here, I came into toy-polloi a couple of days after I'd fixed this Rancor, and you can see that his arms have fallen off. So there's been a little bit of a failure in my fix, and it turns out what's happened is the two O-rings that I've used here in the middle between the two cable ties have actually snapped. This doesn't surprise me actually. The cable ties I had to do up quite tight to get the strength needed to pull the arms in, and these little O-rings, they are actually circular. Well, they're circular little things, but they're actually sort of welded at one point around the circle, and it looks like that has failed on both of them. So I'm just going to slightly modify my plan here. I'm not going to use O-rings, I'm going to use some elastic. So what I'm going to do is just tie a very small loop of elastic, because this stuff is pretty strong and tight, and use a tiny bit of elastic instead of O-rings, and then put this Rancor back together. And I think it's going to be exactly the same fix, but substituting O-rings for elastic, and it should work nicely. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show you it all fixed with the elastic in place. So here we have the Rancor second time round with the elastic rather than the O-rings, and as you can see the arms now work pretty nicely with the elastic in place. So it was just a shame that those O-rings, they just didn't stand up to the sort of strength and the amount of pull that is needed to keep these arms in place. So a little bit of a shame that didn't work first time, but as you can see, sometimes when you're fixing toys you just need to modify your plans slightly as you go through. So I hope that's been of interest to you, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter and Facebook.